Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all about that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy Devin, and I know we don't got our boy Nick with us today, but he is with us in spirit. And so today, guys, I just wanted to talk about, just like the other episodes that we've done. It's a Q&A, right? You guys have open floor to ask any questions related to entrepreneurship, to mindset, fitness, nutrition, whatever you guys want. So remember, this is your guys' show, right? So I want you guys to remember that and feel free to ask anything you guys want, ask away. But more so, I want to dive into in between the comments, the questions that I know you guys are going to participate in the comments. I'm just going to keep saying that throughout because I know some people are scared to say their thoughts or say their feelings and stuff like that. But remember, guys, we do this live episode for you. So diving in between, the comments, the questions that we have, I'm going to be talking about today's topic, which is going to be challenging comfort, right? Redefining what is assertive and what is aggressive. But more so, this whole topic comes from being the authentic you and not having to adapt to essentially make someone else comfortable, right? And what I mean by that is this whole episode kind of stems from this quote that I heard. I'm not intimidating, you're intimidated. There's a difference. I'm not mean nor aggressive. I'm honest and assertive, and that makes you uncomfortable. And it's not me that makes you uncomfortable. My presence challenges your comfort. I will not lessen myself for you to feel better about yourself, right? So that quote, it made me really think about, so many people try to limit themselves down to make other people feel comfortable, or they're scared of being themselves because they're worried about being judged, right? So that's what today's whole episode is really about, is not limiting yourself to make someone else feel comfortable, right? If you're you, then at the end of the day, you'll be happy, right? If you aren't trying to be someone else and, make other people happy, being this ideal person that you're not, then you're going to be happy with yourself when you lay your head on the pillow, right? So again, feel free, you guys, questions, comments, on the topic, on any other topics, leave them in the comment section, and we'll go over them. Anything with fitness, personal development, mindset, anything like that. But diving into the episode in the time being, there's a misconception, I believe, with what is assertiveness and what is aggressiveness or aggression, right? And the best way I can explain it, in my opinion, is assertiveness or being assertive is often confused with aggression because society struggles to separate what is strength and what is hostility, as well as some people might think they're being assertive, but they're really being aggressive. So you have to have that fine mix of the two in between. Assertiveness, in my opinion, is about being clear or having clarity and respect, right? So you're not being pushy, you're not being demanding, while aggression, you're seeking to dominate the situation, right? There is no other opinions. There's assertiveness, essentially, for example, a team leader is giving direction or feedback to improve performance, right? That's going to be assertive. They're asserting themselves as the leader so that you, as part of the team, can improve your performance, which is going to improve the overall performance of the team. Another one, let's say, is a friend that sets boundaries without raising their voice or yelling. That's being assertive, right? Hey, I don't like that. Hey, don't talk to me that way. That's being assertive, right? Versus yelling and screaming, and that's starting to have aggression. That goes over the line of being assertive, right? Another one, let's say for the gym, or if you're in business, right? you're handling and you're talking with a customer or a client and they have a complaint. Instead of, arguing and debating the situation, calmly but firmly tell them that, that's not how company policy is, whatever. You don't need to raise your voice. The more calm you say, now you're staying in that assertiveness versus going into aggression. And then what happens 9 times out of 10 with aggression is met by aggression, right? Whereas assertiveness can just kind of be respected and be like, okay, my bad. Thank you guys for all tuning in. I see you guys, are hopping in. So that quote, though, it definitely opened up my mind to thinking. It's like sometimes not only just being assertive or, telling someone, this is who I am, or this is what, I want to do, or this is how I want to be. That's one aspect of it, but also like limiting yourself in ways of, if you're normally an outgoing person and you're with a friend or with a group that is more of introverts, lessening yourself to now become an introvert is not being the unapologetic you, right? If you're loud, you're outgoing, and that's who you are. Accept it, right? Embrace it. At the end of the day, you don't want to be a sheep in the herd, right? Otherwise, if you're a sheep in the herd, you're just going to get lost within the herd. You're not different than the next person. But you being you and you being, not sorry for who you are, that's going to separate yourself. And that's what's going to, make other people resonate with you and connect with you. And that's why some people we consider to be authentic versus unauthentic or just plain Jane. I would say, going into the topic, though, of being the unapologetic you, going off of because it can make some people uncomfortable, how you naturally are, or, what your beliefs, of how someone should talk to you, whatever the case may be. Why do people get uncomfortable, right? And it's sometimes your truth often challenges people's self-perception, right? It can be threatening to them, right? How they feel about themselves, how they feel like the world should treat someone, all those kind of things. If that's your perspective, remember reality, I've said this before, but your reality is your reality. Your perception of the world, your perception of a situation, your perception of a person is your reality of that person, place, or thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the reality of the next person, right? Reality, again, is just perception. It's just a makeup of all the past situations, all the past life events that you've encountered that has developed and molded this perception that you have of people, of the world, of situations, whatever the case may be. But realize the perception can always be changed as long as you're open-minded and you have that growth mindset and you're doing what's most authentic to yourself, right? To your beliefs, your core values, right? Something that might be uncomfortable, right? Let's say a friend is doing something that's, risking their health, or, it's a bad habit. You being a good friend, pointing it out might be harmful or might be uncomfortable for them because, you have to get a little uncomfortable, tell them, hey, that's probably not the best for you. At the same time, they're going to feel uncomfortable that you told them, but at the same time, realize that they're just caring. You're just caring, right? Going into, let's go into the fitness realm. Actually, we got a comment. So my OG commenter, Patty, thank you. Sometimes people don't agree with others' ways, and that makes them uncomfortable. 100%. And that's the thing with, I think in today's world, it's like either you have to think one way or you have to think another way. And it goes into so many things from, religion to politics to, fitness styles to coaching styles to parenting styles, to so many different things that in reality, there's so many different combinations of mixes and perceptions that as long as it works for you, by all means, go about your happy life and, do your thing, right? Be you. But being assertive and explaining why you believe that is one thing, and you can have a conversation about it. But being aggressive and saying that you have to believe this, or you have to do it this way, or you have to parent this way just because that's the way you do it, now that's aggressive, right? Patty also said that uncomfortable, but that you should stop being who you are and how you are. Exactly. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't stop being who you are and how you are just because someone else is uncomfortable, right? Whatever is you, whatever you believe, that's awesome. You believe it, you do it. If that's what makes you happy and that's what makes your life, your circle of life go around, then, keep on your merry way. Yeah, I was trying to think how to ask, but some fitness questions, mainly fitness at home. Yeah, definitely. What questions do you have for, fitness at home? Like, what are you currently doing? What have you tried? So I can kind of dive into that, but we can talk a little bit about home fitness. Let's do it. Yeah, Patty, I got that. It shouldn't change who you are. Gotcha. So, I mean, realize that there's a difference between, I would say, intimidation and challenging, right? You can have challenging beliefs, which are basically yin and yang, or you can have that intimidation factor of you have to believe this or you're this. You have to do it this way or you're this. And if you don't, then X, right? So if you're doing it that way, then intimidation, it's all intentional. Being challenged, or an idea being challenged, it's inherent. It's a quality that compels others to grow, right? It compels you and whoever you're talking to or having a discussion with to really dive into the subject, to explain your thoughts, your reasons, your understandings, why. And that's what now shapes both of your perspectives, because you may not have seen a certain situation in a certain light. And then when you guys talk about it, then all of a sudden you challenge both each other's ideas. And now all of a sudden, both of you guys have a more open mind and a more open view of the situation. You can see how someone else could have that opinion, and they could see how you could have that opinion, and why you guys do it the way you do it. Whether they decide to change or not is really up to them, right? Yeah, Patty said, agree. You have to come in with an open mind. That is, without a doubt, probably the biggest thing is, if you come into a conversation, whether it is a debate or just open conversation, if you come into a conversation and you're closed-minded already, and before the other person finishes talking, you're already jumping in, and they're saying a point of view, and you're not even answering or diving into that point of view, you're just attacking the same point over and over and over again. You're not listening, right? A conversation has to be listening, speaking, right? You have to have an open mind, and you have to have dialogue both ways. And the only way you can have an active dialogue is if you actually listen to what the other person is saying, so you can actually formulate an opinion and a perspective to rebuttal them with, or to give them, so that they can open up their mind as well. But if you guys are just harping back and forth, it should be this way. No, it's this way. No, you're wrong. You're a liar. It's like, well, now what kind of conversation is that? How do you open someone's mind when you're just, going back and forth with I'm right, you're wrong, right? Next part, I kind of wrote some bullet points for today too. Why do people project their discomfort onto others, right? And what I kind of came up with is, when others feel insecure, they often blame the source of their discomfort versus having some introspecting, or, have some introspect, if that makes sense, right? So, for example, let's say a bully, we're all taught as kids, when someone is bullying you, it's because they are self-conscious about themselves, or, they have that issue with themselves. They're not happy, with their body, whatever the case is, right? And when you take that fundamental concept that we learned as kids and you bring it into the world that we're living in now, right? If you're uncomfortable and you're projecting your uncomfort onto someone else, and you're saying that they're the reason I'm uncomfortable, then you're not diving deep enough into yourself. Why do you think that they're making you uncomfortable? Why is this situation making you uncomfortable, right? Is this situation uncomfortable because past situations have like this has arise to, aggression, has arise to, a result that you're thinking that just because this conversation is going this way, or that someone walked in the room and their chest puffed out, all of a sudden they're going to be, a douche, right? It's, sorry for my language, I don't know if that's politically correct or not anymore. But with that being said, like, for example, some people think that I'm intimidating just from my presence, right? And that's their interpretation of it, right? Without me even speaking or anything, just because I stand straight or just because my chest is puffed out, right? Just naturally, it's one of those things where I have self-confidence about myself, but some people are uncomfortable by that and they say that it's intimidating. Now, am I intimidating? No, I'm one of the most open people. You come to me, talk to me, I'll talk to anyone, right? About anything. But just because you feel uncomfortable by that, you're associating me, or let's say someone like me, right, that walks into a room, you're already formulating who they are and what they stand for, or how they're going to act, whatever, because of your perspectives of previous, events or encounters, right? Going back to the comment, going back to the home workout comment. So I asked, the original part was, I was trying to think of how to ask some fitness questions, mainly fitness at home. I asked, to explain a little bit. And the response was how to keep my mentality going to stay in the zone and not getting lazy. I get lazy easily. So I would really have to leave my house to get out of my comfort zone of home fitness. Yes and no, right? I was actually having a conversation with the client today, and realized that, if you're struggling to work out at home, again, having some introspection with yourself, why is it that you're feeling lazier at home? Is it because of all the distractions? Is it because of, you can't get off the couch, and finish the show because you want to finish the show? Is it because, the kids are running around? Whatever the case may be. Now, is it great to go to a place and do a workout? 100%. I mean, that's why we opened up, Strive, Love, and Fitness. But at the same time, that doesn't mean home workouts aren't extremely effective and or doable, right? You have to realize that this is a time for you to not only build yourself in a physical manner, right, and do your physical fitness, but this is also a time for you to actually build your mental fitness, right? If you already know it's harder to work out at home, yet you know that you need to work out, and you still get up even though you don't want to and do your workout, is that going to make it easier or harder the next day you go to do the workout? Probably a little easier, right? So realize that this is one of those things where we were talking about habits in some of the previous episodes. Believe me, I mean, being a trainer, being a gym owner, everything like that, like, I don't want to work out every single day, right? But I do it because I know I need to do it, right? I have to walk the walk that I talk the talk. And so realize that you may not want to do it and you may feel lazy in the moment. But once you start doing your workout, those endorphins start releasing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's not that bad. And then you don't want to finish the workout early because you're like, well, I'm just going to finish this set. I'm just going to finish this exercise. And then all of a sudden you finish that exercise and you're like, okay, let me just do one more, right? So the thought process I would say is think of it as the one more step, right? So one more. Can I do one exercise right now? Right. I feel lazy. I don't really feel like working out, but can I just do one exercise? Can I do some, mountain climbers on the floor? And then just do that. And then can I just do one more set of mountain climbers right now? Yeah, I can just do one more set, right? Do one more set. You finish your set of mountain climbers, 3 sets, 4 sets, whatever the case may be. It's like, man, can I just do one set of squats right now? Yeah, I could probably just do one set, right? And then you only think of it, you break down your entire workout, your home workout, instead of thinking about, man, I have to get up, I have to do mountain climbers, I have to do squats, I have to go, run a mile, I have to do this. And all of a sudden you start stacking this huge, elaborate, game plan. And then it feels almost like this, college essay that you need to write right now. And it's like, man, I don't want to do that. But when you break it down into micro steps, can I just do this one piece of it? Can I just do this one piece of it? And then let me just do one more piece of it. And when you break it down to those little micro steps, it doesn't seem so hard to get started. So that would be my opinion on, if you're feeling lazy and how to get in the zone. Because realize that motivation, it comes and goes, right? So motivation is temporary. But at the end of the day, your motivation needs to be something that can be flexible, right? You feel motivated some days and not motivated the other days. But your addiction to getting healthier, to doing your workout, to seeing the body that you want to see needs to be the real thing, right? And when I say that, it's sometimes you just need to do the workout regardless of how you feel, because at the end of the day, your body doesn't care, how you feel, what's going on in your day, how many things you have left to do in the day, that you're tired, that you're hungry. Like, your body doesn't care about those things in terms of you achieving your fitness goal. So realize that the days you don't feel like it, you should almost mentally be telling yourself, good, this is awesome that I don't feel like it, because this is a time that I get to get mentally stronger. Not only am I going to do this workout, afterwards, I'm going to feel great for doing the workout and not skipping on it. And then all of a sudden, now I'm going to be a little stronger mentally. The next day I go to do this. Oh, this is how I felt yesterday. I still don't feel like doing it. You know what? I'm just going to do it. Like, good. This is opportunity for me to grow mentally also. Let's fucking do this. Like, I don't want to. I'm going to be dragging my feet, but let's fucking do this. All of a sudden, you finish your workout and you're like, damn, that was good, right? I feel good about myself. All of a sudden, you do that. You stack those day after day, and that's when you start to really see change, not just physically, but mentally. Those lazy days don't really happen as much, right? Taking a tangent back to Patty's comment, LOL, people tend to judge a book by its cover. That is 100%. That was going into, when someone walks in the room and someone judges them and gets uncomfortable by them just being in the room, not ever speaking to them. Next comment of hers was, at home workouts, set small goals, set a time to start with 10 minutes and just work your way to longer than that. Yes, 100%, right? Not every workout needs to be the same. If you only have 10 minutes today, do 10 minutes today. If you've never ran a mile, well, why don't you start with walking, right? Walk around the block. Next day, walk around the block and a half, and so forth, right? Do little progressions. But even so, that this is one of the things over the years I heard people, this used to bug me, so much when people are like, oh, I didn't get a workout in yesterday. I'm like, why not? Like, oh, I didn't have an hour. I'm like, so how much time did you have? They're like, well, I only had like 30 minutes, and then I had, so you're saying that a 30-minute workout no workout is better than a 30-minute workout. Does that logic make sense? And they're like, well, I didn't really think about it that way. I'm like, because you're so used to doing things in, it's either this or this. It's either 60 minutes or it's no minutes, right? If you only have 10 minutes today, 10 minutes of working out or doing something physically, activating for your body is better than not doing anything, right? If you watched 10, episodes of your Netflix show today, typically those shows are like 30 minutes to an hour long. You don't think you could have sacrificed one of those and just did a workout, right? Like, it's, you have to think about it. Like, we waste so much of our day doing meaningless things, let's say Netflix or, scrolling on Instagram, whatever the case may be. In that same amount of time, you could have done a 10, 15, 20-minute workout and, had a great rest of your day. There's 24 hours in the day. You can't tell me one of them you can't sacrifice. Even 30 minutes of that, there's 48 half hours. You can't give me 1 half hour, right? So think about it that way. Once you start breaking it down, it's not as bad. Okay, so mentally get myself out of my habits of just saying, oh, I can do it tomorrow. Okay, so even if I'm tired, it's best to just try one set of something and get me going. Yes, 100%, right? It's easy to tell ourselves that we'll do it tomorrow, but realize that today was yesterday's tomorrow. And the day before that tomorrow already passed, right? So if you get into the habit of saying, I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow's never really going to come, because tomorrow is going to be, you're going to say it again, and it's the next day, and it's the next day. Then all of a sudden we hit the end of the year, which we're coming up on, and then you're like, well, shit, I'm just going to set it as my New Year's resolution. And then January 1st hits, and you're like, well, I'm a little tired because I was up until midnight. I'm going to do it January 2nd. January 2nd hits, and then all of a sudden see where that snowball effect starts to take place, right? So get yourself out of the habit of, saying, I'll just do it tomorrow, and then start the new habit of just saying, All right, I don't feel like it. I'm just going to do 10 minutes. I was going to do an hour, but let me just do 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes happens. Can I do another 10 minutes or another 5 minutes? Right? And you may not hit an hour, but at least you did something. Yeah, I wanted to mentally have motivation of getting off the couch and working on my life. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the thing is you don't need to go somewhere else. Like, again, you can go on a walk or a jog outside. You can, use a kitchen chair or, whatever to do dips on, do step ups on, go outside on the curb and you can use the curb. Like, I mean, you're thinking that back in my personal training days, like before I had equipment and all that kind of stuff, or before I was training in a gym, like I was training clients at a park and I just utilized everything that was already at the park besides maybe some bands, right? So if there was a curb, we were using that for push-ups, step-ups, mini box jumps. I mean, you can get creative with it. You just have to, be willing to at least do that first rep. There's an exercise you can do using your couch, chair, coffee table. Patty says, yeah, exactly. I mean, be careful of the coffee table. You don't break the coffee table, depending on how sturdy it is, or if it's glass, just be smart with, what you're using. Start with something small, watching your show and doing some sit-ups. Yeah. I mean, I would ideally like you to get away from the screen for a minute, but if that's what gets you to go, like, put your show on your phone and put it on the floor and do some mountain climbers, do some like push-ups or modified push-ups. You can hold your phone or put it on a table or something like that and, do some crunches, right? You can get creative with it. And then all of a sudden you'll realize that your show is getting in the way of, you actually just finishing the workout real quick. And then you'll end up turning your show off just to get the workout over with. So I think that's a great place to start, is thinking that just because you don't feel like working out doesn't mean you should. Or if you're waiting for the day that you're motivated to go to the gym, what's to say that your motivation doesn't flee by the time you get to the gym, right? So realize that majority of people that work out, they don't necessarily feel like working out in the moment. They may have felt like it earlier in the day or when they were busy doing another task that they didn't feel like doing, right? When all of a sudden, let's say you're writing a college essay and you're like, man, I'd rather work out than right now. All of a sudden you're like, okay, well, let's work out. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to write this college essay, right? The grass is always greener when you don't want to do something and you're like, I would rather do the other hard thing. But in reality, that's just an excuse. So I think that's an awesome place to start though, right? You guys, again, comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, fitness, personal development, mindset, entrepreneurship, whatever you guys got. Thank you guys so much for in the comments today that you guys are actually firing off today. That's someone, what's something you can recommend doing to help strengthen my lateral lifts? Lateral lifts meaning what? Like lateral shoulder lifts, lateral, body raise, like, side plank, lateral leg lifts. What do you mean by lateral lifts? If you could clarify, that would be awesome. In the meantime, while I get some clarification on that to answer that, diving back into, being assertive and being the unapologetic you, right? You have to realize that there's a level of emotional intelligence that comes with life, right? Emotional intelligence is essentially saying like how you handle your emotions, how when a situation happens, how you respond to it, something that frustrates you, you don't just blow up. And then believe me, like even my emotional intelligence is a work in progress, right? My background is Cuban and I definitely have that Cuban temper, but over the years, you have to realize that, you have to realize, like, are you overreacting, or is the situation not that serious, or are you feeling this way because of something else? And really start to, reflect on yourself and really develop, who you are and not let other people control you emotionally. Because you got to realize, like, you're the only one that can control your emotions, or that's the way it should be at least. And if you're allowing someone else to say something and trigger you and control you emotionally, now all of a sudden you lost control of yourself, right? So that's going into the emotional intelligence. Oh, here we go. It's clarification. So something recommended to do, helping my strength, my lateral lifts, meaning body. When I go to lift something heavy, I don't like the pain I have in my back afterwards. I would say, yes, that can come from your obliques, which is like your side abs. But what it also might be is be careful of how you're picking stuff up, right? If you pick up something heavy and it's immediately hurting your back or making your back feel tight or spasming, realize that's coming from the strength of your hamstrings, your glutes, and your lower back as well as your obliques. So make sure that you're shooting your hips back, almost like you're sitting into a chair, keeping your back straight when you're picking something up. And that should start to let your hamstrings, your glutes, as well as your lower back pick up whatever you're picking up, instead of you just relying on your lower back and your obliques to lift something up, right? And that's where you get a pinched nerve. That's where you can start tweaking stuff, or that's when all of a sudden your back feels kind of funny for the rest of the day. But as far as exercises to strengthen your lower back as well as your obliques, number one, especially, I mean, this didn't even go into if you can't get away from your show, you can lay on your stomach, right? And then lift your chest off the ground, right? And lay back down. Lift your chest off the ground, lay back down. Those are called Supermans, right? And that's going to strengthen up your lower back, your glutes, and maybe a little bit of your hamstrings. Other one being laying on your back, and you can basically lift your hips up, right? And bridge your butt off the ground, let your butt hit the ground, hips off the ground, hips on the ground, and so forth. And that will activate your glutes. And then the last one being, for your hamstrings, just talking about your back chain, lifting your hips up, keeping your hips up in the air, and then walking your feet out so your legs are almost straight, and then walking back in, and then set your hips down. Lift your hips up, walk your feet out, walk your feet back in, set your hips down, and that will start to strengthen your hamstrings. Now, as far as like lateral lifts or for your obliques, you can lay on your side and just side crunch. And as you're side crunching, that's going to start to build out that oblique, right? Other one being sitting down and twisting side to side. So keeping your back straight, if you can, keep your feet up in the air, but otherwise, let your feet go out, slightly, and just keep your weight lightly on your heels, and then just twist, touch the ground, twist, touch the ground, back and forth. And that's going to build your transverse obliques, which basically go from your side and they come into the center. So you have your obliques on the sides, which basically your internal and external are going to move you side to side. And then you have your transverse obliques, which come across you, and that's going to be for rotation. So anything that you're doing, like even a plank, you can hold the plank and work on your abs. But now if you plank and then you twist your hips side to side, that's going to start engaging those transverse obliques. And so, and then the other one being obviously planks help great, go on your forearms, go on your toes, and then basically keeping your body flat, so everything's off the ground except for your toes and your forearms. The other one being side plank, which is, you're on one forearm, you're on your side of your feet, and you're holding yourself up sideways, which if it's difficult, you can bend your knees, and instead of your feet being on the ground, your knees are on the ground and holding it that way, right? And the response was, okay, so a little bit of everything. I'll need to be working out a lot more than I thought. No, not necessarily. I'm just giving you little things, right? So let's say today you just want to do the Supermans, right? Just start with the Supermans. And then after you finish the Supermans, if you feel like, doing some side crunches, do some side crunches. But at least start one of them, right? I wanted to give you a couple different ones to hit, a couple different muscle groups, right? But if you just want to plank today, just do a plank. I think that if you're going to start somewhere, start with just doing a plank, right? Hold yourself up as long as you can, then reset, like rest for a sec, right? Hold yourself up as long as you can, rest for a second. If you can do that and do it for a total of a minute, so like let's say you're holding it for 10 seconds, that's all you can do. You rest for a sec, another 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever the case may be, and get up to a minute, right? That whole process might take you a minute if you could hold it straight, all the way upwards of 10 minutes if you need to take longer breaks, right? But if you can at least start with that, there's something, right? Doing 25 crunches is better than doing no crunches. Doing 100 crunches is better than no crunches, right? So again, just progressions. Just do what you can and adapt in small steps, and you'll get yourself there. And then response, okay, yeah, I'll start small with Supermans and some planks, but at some point I will need to add some weights, ? It goes both ways. Can you do complete workouts with just your body? 100%, right? That's why the TRXs, were invented. And before TRXs, like, people just use towels or ropes to, do body rows and stuff like that. But no, I mean, you can do a full workout. I could name a bunch of workouts right now and it's just gonna kind of overwhelm you. But even if you just go on YouTube or whatever and, type in full body workout, no weights, or no weight workout, right? And you'll get a whole list of things to do. Even on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a fitness section, which does that little 5, 10, 15, 20-minute workouts on Netflix as well. But the need to add weight, again, would only be if you want to add weight, or if you're limiting yourself to only doing body weight and you want that next level. Because again, body weighted exercises, unless you start getting really creative, will only take you to a certain point, right? I mean, if we were working out, I could take you through a full body workout with just body weight and have you feeling like you just lifted, all dumbbells or all barbells or whatever. But again, it's the knowledge of knowing how the body moves and stuff like that. So do weights help? 100%. Can you do it with your body? 100%. Like, let's say dumbbells. Can you do shoulder press with dumbbells easily? Yeah. What would be a body weighted shoulder press, right? There's a shoulder push up, but handstand push up, right? Obviously that's a little next level, but there's different variations and ones that you can do on a chair and all that kind of stuff as well. So again, do you need to add weight? The answer technically is no. Do weights help? 100%, right? One of my favorite, things isn't even dumbbells and kettlebells and stuff like that. It's actually the resistance bands. So the big resistance bands, those are my favorite because as you're lifting them, they actually get harder towards, the top. So let's say you're doing curls with a dumbbell. The hardest part is the initial part of the curl. And then once you hit about 90 degrees, that part's easy. But with a resistance band, once you hit 90 degrees, that last, 45 degrees is actually going to be even harder because it's more weight, more resistance on the band pulling. So I'm a huge fan and a huge believer in resistance bands, or throwing resistance bands into the workout. And I mean, even at our gym, we have resistance bands. We'll even do rows with, like, stand on the resistance band, do rows. We have them attached to the wall, do pull downs, triceps, all that kind of stuff. So it's just how creative you can get. But realize that the internet is so vast in its knowledge and the knowledge that people have put there for you, right? You can type in and find, full body workouts, band workouts, all those kind of things in the meantime. So I hope that kind of helps answer your question on home workouts. Sorry, just reading through some of the comments, making sure there's no other comments in here. See, this is why, normally having my boy Nick with me, it makes it a lot easier. One person can be on comments, one person can be on tech duty. I'm only now realizing that I'm getting out of shape. So I'll start small in time and get more in touch with my body's limits to seeing change in the daily routine. 100%. I mean, not even just, working out, but the next step would be like, starting small. And then what is your nutrition like? Are you eating out, 5 days a week? Are you eating, rice and tortillas and carbs and all those kind of things more so than you should? How much the easiest way to start from nutrition, just like working out, start small and then gradually increase. The best place I recommend for starting with nutrition is seeing how much protein you eat in a day, right? Like, you can always adjust your carbs, your fats accordingly, but the hardest thing for people to eat is protein for some reason, right? And going off of, your weight and stuff like that, you can be a little more accurate with it, but your first goal would be try to get 80 to 100 grams of protein. That's what I recommend minimum for anyone, right? Try to get 80 grams to 100 grams of protein in a day and start there. If you can get 80 grams to 100 grams, like, you're doing fairly well. Realize that, let's say you hit 100 grams, that's 400 calories. You have 800 calories at minimum, at least, that you can divide into carbs and fats. But first start with something small, protein. See how much protein you eat, right? And if you're not eating enough, that's your first step. Try to hit your protein goal. Come in, give yourself 30 minutes and come into Strive. That will motivate you to work out every day. 100%. Come into Strive. Don't even have to think about the workouts. We got you. My nutrition is a roller coaster. Eating out is normal for me. I'll be looking at that. And that's the thing too, is like you have to reflect on yourself, not just from working out, but like, because the home workouts and all that stuff are extremely beneficial, right? If that's your starting point. But realize that's only half the battle, right? The other half is you can't outwork a bad diet. And then also you can't get the dream body necessarily you want from only eating clean and never working out, right? That's why you hear of people being quote unquote skinny fat, or, they're skinny, but they have just no muscle definition on them, right? It's because they go hand in hand, and so realize that if you take that first step, okay, if eating out is normal for you and your nutrition is a roller coaster, okay, well, then how do we stabilize a roller coaster? Let's make it a kiddie roller coaster instead, right? Instead of being like a Goliath at Six Flags, right? So first step, how many days do you eat out, right? If it's 7 days, okay, well, then this week, let's only eat out 5. Next week, let's try to eat out 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Break it down that way. And then the next step, I would say, would be going into seeing how much protein you actually eat, right? What does your protein look like? And then go that way, so you're not trying to all of a sudden stop eating out. And then now you're not only are you not eating out, but now you're trying to figure out, okay, I'm not eating out. I am eating out less, but I need to hit this grams of protein. Like, take all that out one step at a time. Start doing your home workouts and, do track essentially your measurements of how many times you eat out, and do less and less each day, each week, essentially. Right. But hopefully that helps a little bit on those things. Diving back into a little bit of the topic of being the unapologetic you, right? Realize that as uncomfortable as it is for someone, as uncomfortable someone may feel with you being you, that's their problem at the end of the day. Say it bluntly, to say it just straight up, it's their problem, right? It's not your problem. You have enough problems on your plate to not have to worry about how you made someone else feel and I don't mean by, you being rude and aggressive and all that kind of stuff, but you just being you. If that's who you are, and maybe you need to do some reflection on yourself and make sure that, you're not being aggressive. But if you're just being assertive, then that's you. But realize that not having to apologize for yourself and just being you and doing the things you believe and, acting the way you believe you should act, that makes you authentic. All right. Sorry about that. Look back. So realize that, what I was saying is, not having to apologize for yourself and you being you, at the end of the day, that makes you authentic, right? And people resonate with other people who are authentic. So instead of having to worry about how someone else feels and worry about their problems, or you got enough problems on your plate, realize that you being you is other people are going to resonate with you. You're not going to be liked by everyone, and that's okay, right? If someone doesn't like you, it is what it is. If they want to worry about that and think about that for the rest of the day, that's their problem. You got your own day going on. You got your own things going on. You keep trotting down your merry way, being you, and at the end of the day, you're going to be happy with yourself when you go to bed at night, and that's all that matters. But realize that. Thank you for participating in the comments. I appreciate the comments and appreciate the support to the show and everything like that. So thank you. Sorry. It was the technical difficulty. Had to switch to the webcam. But with that being said, if that your authenticity feels threatening to someone else, realize that they may not be the person for you. They might not be part of your circle, whatever, right? You're going to find your pack. You're going to find your tribe, right? And realize that your authenticity, it can highlight others' insecurities or their inauthenticity, because they may be just like you. They may be out loud and, an extrovert, but they're acting as an introvert because they're adapting to their surrounding and not staying true to themselves, which is highlighting you being you, or is highlighting the fact that they're being the way they are. And that's an insecurity of theirs, but that's also their problem to deal with. That's something that they need to reflect on, right? I promise you, you're going to have a happier life, and you're going to end up resonating with more people being you than if you were acting like someone else or acting like, who you think you should be. You're going to end up not reflecting with, or not resonating with as many people. I promise, right? It may be scary. You may think that's not the case, but 9 times out of 10, like the people that go viral, the people that become social media famous, there's one kid named Sketch, hilarious kid, but like there's nothing flash about him. He doesn't look like a model. He doesn't look like a supermodel into that, but he's just funny. And it's not even like stand-up comedy. It's just him. It was literally, he got famous off of him playing video games in his room and just, being him and talking trash, but it was just came off really funny, right? But that was his authentic self, right? So just realize that you have to set boundaries with others that are trying to make you feel less than you are, right? Patty, I'll be writing what you said in my book to start off small and home. There you go. See, that's what this is all about. Ask questions. The community chips in. I chip in. That's what, why I like to do the live episodes, guys. So, that's awesome. Write that in your notebook, write it on the wall. And, the day's not over. You can still do a plank. You can still do a little bit today, right? That's all I'm saying, right? It's, do something today and do a little bit more tomorrow. But with that being said, guys, I truly think that you have to realize, if you feel like you have to be less than to be accepted, you need to look at yourself in the mirror, right? You should never try to be less than who you are meant to be, because then you're trying to, go on your personal development journey. You're listening to this conversation right now, which means you're trying to be the best version of yourself. And if that's the case, why limit the current version of you to be less than it's capable of being, right? If you're limiting your potential to make other people feel comfortable, how can you improve yourself when you're already limiting yourself? Like, what would you be improving? Would you be improving how much you have to limit? Like, does that make sense? Like, why would you want to improve something that you're limiting? So realize that, be you, do you, and the world will keep going, right? If someone else is, offended by you walking in the room, fucking tell them to kick rocks. You haven't done anything to them. You haven't said anything to them. Like, if they just feel that way, then let them feel that way. Your feelings are your feelings, is what I tell them. If that's one of my clients, gets mad because she'll, say I'm, mean or whatever, and then I'll literally just look at her and my hands are crossed and well, that's what you feel, right? And then she said, well, that's what you feel, right? And then all of a sudden, they just start working out, right? So it's one of those things where, again, you know who you are. You have the self-confidence that you built within yourself, bettering yourself day in and day out. Don't let anyone else try to take that away from you, all right? But with that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys, all the support with the Mindset Cafe, and with everything that we got going on over here at Strive 11 Fitness for the members and everything like that. Make sure you guys share this with a friend, but even more so, I would say it really helps out when you guys share that we're going live so that other people can chip in and ask the questions and stuff. We had a whole, half the episode off of, someone that it's the first time I've seen, their comment in here, which is awesome. That honestly, that makes me super happy. Because that's, again, why the lives are done this way. It's a lot easier just to record a video and post it on social media, but the whole aspect of engaging and wanting to engage, that's why we do this. So you can ask your questions in real time. So make sure when we post that we're going live, if you guys could share that on your guys', social media or whatever, or share at least with a friend, would help out so much. You know, it might help out that person that you're sending it to. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys for all the love and support. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your journey. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. But with that being said, guys, love you all. See you on the next one. Make sure you guys share the show, tell a friend, you know, and at the end of the day, don't apologize for you being you.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. 'Cause in the game of life, myself